Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of my last remaining unlocks. Now, I've been playing Battlefield for over 700 hours. Kind of scary to think about, and there's still weapons that I haven't unlocked everything for. Mostly because I didn't really care for these weapons when I was using them, and I haven't touched them in a long time. So I thought it would be a good idea today to sort of revisit those guns and unlock everything for them and unlock all my attachments in Battlefield 3. First up on the list is the Dow 12 semi-automatic shotgun. This thing shoots at 220 rounds per minute, so it can shoot pretty fast. It just doesn't pack quite as big a punch as a lot of the other pump action shotguns out there, so many times you're going to have to take a few shots to take somebody down, which for the most part, if you're playing against good players, oftentimes you won't get that many shots off. Now, if you're in extreme close quarters and you're a pretty good aimer, you can get away with one-shotting a lot of people, but those medium range engagements, many times it's going to take more than one shot to take somebody out. I found that running with flechette seemed to work a little bit better for me with this weapon, just because every time I see somebody at medium range, it would be like 3 shots sometimes to take him down with buckshot, and flechette reduced that to 2 shots or so. So it made it a little bit more usable at medium range. Still though, the reloading on this weapon, although it's relatively fast if you're just putting in a single shell, if you do burn through your entire magazine of ammo, it takes quite a while to reload this weapon again. Now, the next weapon that I needed unlocks for was the Saiga 12K, and it's nearly identical to the Dow 12 in every single way, except for that it uses a magazine reload system instead of loading the shells individually. I kind of prefer this system because the reload is relatively quick, with a 2.2 second for the short reload and a 3.5 second for the long reload. For the most part, as long as you're hitting that short reload time, you can get a lot of ammo back into this gun quickly, allowing you to just be generally a little bit more effective and spam a lot more shots. With the Dow 12, I would always try and conserve my ammo, many times getting me killed. Now, the Saiga actually has slightly less recoil than the Dow 12. Honestly, I don't think there's a huge difference between the two in terms of being able to stay on target with your shots. The pellets per shot are 9, whereas something like one of the pump action shotguns like the 870 has 12 per shot, and this Fast 12 has 11. Just gives you a little bit more power overall and increases your chances of one-shotting somebody in close quarters with the pump actions, whereas these ones with 9, you have to be pretty darn precise in close quarters to one-shot somebody or at least aim for the head. Neither the Dow or the Saiga offer the same one-shot killing potential with slug rounds as the other shotguns do, unless you hit somebody in the head with them. So personally, I don't really like their versatility with the different kinds of ammo. Semi-auto shotguns, although they're fun and can be very effective in close quarters, are a little bit more of a spammy weapon, and once you learn to master the precision of a pump action, you never really feel the need to go back, and that's pretty much what happened to me, so I sort of let the Saiga and the Dow 12 in the dust. Next up, we have the semi-automatic SVD sniper rifle. This is the first sniper rifle you get when playing for the Russian class. It's the base gun, and you can unlock it for the American class once you rank up your recon class enough. Sadly, this weapon doesn't offer anything statistically over other weapons out there. In fact, if you compare it directly to the Mark 11, and yes, I called it the Mark II in my last video, but I believe its technical name is the Mark 11. There's just too many people out there calling it different things. It gets very confusing. Anyway, when you compare this gun directly with the Mark 11, it literally is worse off in multiple statistical areas and better in no area. So you have no reason to use this gun over the Mark 11 unless you don't have the Mark 11 unlocked for the Russian class. Now, there's also other semi-automatic sniper rifles which, in my opinion, I think are even better than the Mark 11 in many cases. So the SVD is really just at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to sniper rifles. It just doesn't do anything particularly well. It has a longer reload than the Mark 11. It has a slower bullet velocity than the Mark 11. The Mark 11 shoots at 550 meters per second. This shoots at 530 meters per second. And other than that, it's exactly identical to the Mark 11 in terms of performance. So I don't know if I would say that this is an oversight on DICE's part. Maybe they wanted the SVD to be a worse off gun. I mean, technically it is a very old sniper rifle, so in the real world battlefield, I'm sure the Mark 11 actually does offer a lot of things over this weapon. But it's still kind of weird when you take it into a video game world and you're like, well, there's literally no reason to use this gun unless you like the aesthetics of it. Now, when it comes down to like actually nitpicking how well you're going to be able to do between the two weapons, you can probably still do pretty well with the SVD compared to the Mark 11. And as you can see here, I'm having no problem popping heads here, playing on defense on Domovan Peak. Again, this weapon in most decent close quarter to medium range situations can one-shot a guy in the head, so it's very effective as long as you have the aim for it. Next up, we have the Type 88 LMG, and this thing is just bad. I was using it as little as possible before because it's bad. Getting back into it and getting a lot more kills with it to unlock everything with it, again, I have to confirm it's just bad. It's got an abysmal rate of fire of 650 rounds per minute, and that's on a weapon that you cannot put a heavy barrel on, so it's doing a maximum damage of 25 per shot, making it basically an assault rifle with crappy accuracy, bad recoil, and the inability to put a heavy barrel on it to increase your damage at range. So when it comes down to like dealing with the individual, this gun is terrible. Now, of course, LMGs are meant generally as supporting weapons, suppressing weapons, that sort of thing. And sure, you get a lot of ammo with this, so you can pretty much just run around without having to worry about reloading ever, especially once you put extended mags on and you're running with those 200 rounds. The only problem is that there's a lot of other LMGs that work very similar to the Type 88, except better. The M249 SAW has a higher rate of fire, the QBB95 has great hipfire comparatively, the M27 IAR and RPK both offer the ability for better accuracy and the option to carry a heavy barrel. So there's just a lot of really good machine gun options out there when you compare it to the Type 88. And speaking of good machine gun options here, this is the M240B. Now, I actually do use the M240B a bit, and the only reason why I'm using it here is because I had to unlock one more camo for it to complete my unlocks. And I gotta say, I had a pretty good time running around using this powerhouse of a weapon. Last up, and maybe not least, although I really don't care for this gun, is the PP19. Now, I'm using this weapon with a laser sight attached to it because, frankly, you gotta have something good with this gun. And at least it has good hipfire accuracy. When you put a laser sight on here, you can then hipfire even more accurately, allowing you to pretty much just run around without bothering aiming down sights. I always like to mention that the PP19 has pretty much the lowest damage per shot out of any gun in the entire game. 16.7 damage maximum and 12.5 damage minimum. Mind you, that 12.5 damage hits at about 40 meters, so long range, forget getting any kills with this gun. It's going to take you a lot of hits to take down your target. Fortunately, it does fire very fast at 900 rounds per minute, and it has an oddly large magazine capacity of 55 rounds, but it's still a very weird and awkward weapon because it just takes so many shots to take down your opponents. Now, if you get good enough with the hipfire, you can aim for the head, helping you speed up that process of taking out your enemies, but then again, you can still do that with pretty much any other gun in the game as well. Now, it was nice to go back and play these weapons and finally get the unlocks for them, mostly because it was reminding me of why I don't really play with these guns that much. I'd love to hear about what primary weapons you guys have the least playtime with or the least amount of kills with. Just to see, get a general idea of what kind of guns people just avoid in general. These were my main ones here. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.